You've probably heard this 1,000 times. Just learn languages like a baby. Children are naturally better at picking up languages. And I get it. It sounds true, sounds logical. When people say it, feels like it should be true, right? Children learn faster, they're better at languages. But is this really the truth? No, it's not. And I'm going to explain why, and why you shouldn't take advice from people who tell you to learn like a baby, and why babies aren't faster than you at learning languages, and why learning like a child is generally bad advice. Let's start with the obvious. You're not a child. You don't have the time of a child. And that advice, well, probably, hopefully well-meaning, is completely useless for you because you are an adult and you're busy, hopefully. Hopefully you've got things to do. Work, studies maybe, family, etc. And you probably want to do well in all those areas. A child doesn't have to do any of that. A child is exposed to the language all day, every day. Let's talk numbers. By the time a child turns 4, and you know how 4-year-olds speak, by the time a child turns 4, they've been exposed to somewhere between 10 and 20,000 hours of their native language. 10 to 20,000 hours. Why? Because that's all they do. All the hours they're awake, they're exposed to the language. And they're not only listening to it, they're also repeating things aloud. It's not only passive listening. We're not only talking about 10 to 20,000 hours of input, they're doing a lot of trying to speak as well. 10 to 14 hours of exposure and use of the language a day, every single day. Now, let me ask you this. How much time do you actually have for language learning? How many hours per day can you truly dedicate to learning a language? 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky. Okay, let's say you're extra disciplined and you manage to squeeze in 5 hours a week. That's already impressive for a lot of people. People are busy. Now multiply that by 52 weeks. We're talking about 260 hours a year. And people will say, but we're talking about study time. What about comprehensible input? What if I do 3 hours a day of listening to Spanish? That's still slightly more than 1,000 hours a year. A 4-year-old has 10 to 20,000 hours of practice. Not only listening practice, but also trying to speak. 10 to 20,000. And you know how a 4-year-old speaks. And you think 1,000 hours a year is good if you're just going to learn passively. 1,000 hours a year of inputs, and in 10 to 20 years, you'll be speaking the language like a 4-year-old. Just in time for retirement. So, you get my point, right? The baby advice, it doesn't really hold up for an adult because we live in the real world. We have deadlines, meetings, families, bills, goals, workouts. We don't have the luxury of unlimited time and zero responsibilities. But here's the good news. You don't need thousands and thousands of hours to become fluent. You just need to stop acting like a child. You need to stop trying to learn like a child. And you need to start learning like an adult. And here's what actually works. Focus on high-frequency vocabulary. The 20% of vocabulary that make up 80% of the words you'll encounter in the language. Learn real useful sentences for conversation. The conversations you want to be able to have. Not the apple is red and the elephant eats the banana and all that Duolingo stuff, but things that you actually want to be able to say. Do a lot of repetition. Active repetition. Repeat things aloud all the time. A lot of shadowing, a lot of listening and repeating. You can't get good at speaking if you don't do a lot of speaking practice and a lot of drills. And above all, you need to be very consistent. A few minutes of focused, consistent work with the right sentences beats lots and lots of hours of comprehensible input, listening passively, and watching YouTube videos. That's the entire foundation of my language learning system. It's built for people like you, who are busy but want results in reasonable time, without wasting time. Because what you want is to be able to understand and speak the language as soon as possible. You don't want to spend more time learning the language. You want to be able to use it as soon as possible. The goal is not to spend time learning the language. The goal is to spend time using the language. So it's not about counting the hours. It's about making the hours count. You have to use your time efficiently. And if you apply this method, results will come sooner rather than later. So if you're done with the baby advice, if you're ready to learn like an adult, it's a system that is designed to get results quickly, you can try my 7-day challenge. You can learn 150 practical sentences for conversation in any language in 7 days, in a week. Link in the description.